right. Caroline Leavitt's in an unenviable position once again. How will she get out of it?
Caroline, there's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever want.
That doesn't make sense. That answer to that question doesn't make sense. What part of this hoax is a hoax? The Democrats have seized on this. On what? On the Epstein files? So the hoax is that the Democrats have seized on a hoax? It's just this circular answer, just totally bypasses it. This is in disagreement with Trump. Trump would say the hoax is that Obama, Comey, Hillary sat down together, wrote these files, and then never used them during either election, and just hoped that it would be a ticking time bomb that blew up eventually randomly, I guess, in the future, which it kind of has. But for the opposite reason, because it's not being released. But that answer doesn't make any sense. What part of this is a hoax? Well, the Democrats have seized upon this, implying the Democrats have seized upon this issue of the Epstein files that we said we were going to release and we ran on our campaign. And they've seized upon this fervor toward wanting to get these released. Okay. To get what released? The Epstein files? Okay. And those are a hoax? What's the hoax, though? What part of that's a hoax? It's like this weird non sequitur. It's like it's weirdly hard to explain why it's wrong for some reason, but it's clearly just a non sequitur. It does not follow from the question. What have they seized upon? Once you ask that question, then it's like, okay, it's the files. All right, but those are a hoax. Well, what's the hoax? Well, the hoax is that the Democrats seized upon the files. Okay, what files? The Epstein files. All right, they're seizing upon that. Are they going to get them? Well, no, they're a hoax. The Epstein files are a hoax? Okay, what part of it's a hoax? Well, the Democrats seized upon it. You could go around that forever. Oh my God, how can that be the? But it's like it's so weird. Like in the moment, the reporter's not going to think to like ask that right away. Like, wait, that doesn't make sense. It's like you have to deal with whatever answer you get. And I mean, I feel bad for her. She knew what she signed up for, obviously, but right now, when you're in the moment, it's like, oh God, that's got to be uncomfortable.
Wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency.
So how's it a Democrat hoax?
To Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president.
Are you criticizing them for not releasing it? Or are you just criticizing Democrats who are telling Trump to release it and criticizing him and saying, oh, they're being hypocrites because they didn't demand this from the last administration? Okay. What does that have to do with anything? What? Some people being biased politically and being outspoken at different times, depending on who's in office and who's not, is going to happen forever. That's never going to not be the case. Anyone could say that. But you can't criticize them for not doing a dang thing. Okay, so now you're saying now they're doing a dang thing.
Who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises. to the American people, but he doesn't like to see
Followed through on
Democrats
phase
and the
one.
mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president
It
has
is,
been working so
obviously.
hard
Come
this
on.
week. On Tuesday,
is
he went
just
to Pennsylvania,
ridiculous.
where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday,
What
he
if someone
meets with a
agrees with
foreign
her
leader, the King
on
of
all of
Bahrain,
this?
to secure more investments
And then it's like,
into
okay,
this
but what about
country.
the
And then
hoax thing?
yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have
dare
lost
you
their
focus
children
on this
because
when
of
this
fentanyl,
happens?
signing
Like,
a
okay.
bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this,
Run and chew gum
in
at the
this
same time.
country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that
His hands are just tied. That the judges, Trump can't override a judge. Trump can't go against something a judge says. Like, we've never seen that before. I mean, I know he's back now, but Wilmar Abreu Garcia, that wasn't there court orders for that for a while, and Trump's hands were pretty free then. Whether or not you agree with that or not, like, that Trump has ignored court orders empirically. So this idea, so now he'll never, ever go against a court order, according to Caroline Leavitt. Well, that's good to know.
if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on
Why
that.
did he fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News.
Just crazy. In the comments there, what you'd expect, just like last time. It was a hoax, but people are in jail. Does Fox News think that we don't remember all the prior coverage asking for the files? They're hoping you don't. This is all it is, yeah, right here. These are Fox News viewers. Trump's letter to Epstein. So I heard about this and I haven't read it yet. Should I read this? I can't type on this laptop. I'm a good typer, I promise. Dude, does Trump have like control of search? Like, how is this not the first thing? What? Isn't this like a big story right now?
A smoking gun letter dated February 27, 2025, proves that the Trump administration had and still has an Epstein list. Is it complete? We don't know. But we now know they're not telling the truth. Here's why you don't need to speculate or dig around. Thanks to a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request, we now have a public document, a letter from the Attorney General's office, signed by Pam Bondi and addressed to FBI Director Kash Patel. This letter is critical. Pam Bondi writes, "Before you took office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response, I received approximately 200 pages of documents consisting primarily of flight logs, Epstein's contact list, and a list of victim names and phone numbers. And that alone, flight logs, contacts, victim details clearly, qualifies as an Epstein list, yet officials have consistently claimed there is no list. That now appears to be pure semantics, technically saying there is no list while sitting on exactly the kind of material the public means when they use the term. But that's only part of the story. Bondi goes on to say she was repeatedly told those 200 pages were the full set of documents. Then she learned that the FBI's New York field office was holding back thousands more pages documents tied to Epstein's investigation and indictment. She expressed shock at this discovery and noted that Director Patel was equally surprised when she informed him. She demands in the letter, by 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office, including all records, documents, audio, and video recordings, and materials related to Epstein and his clients, with no withholdings or limitations. Pam Bondi already had a list, flight logs, contact names, victim information, even before learning about the FBI's larger cache. The FBI, according to Bondi's letter, had thousands more pages, yet has publicly denied holding any such material. That's line number 2. What happened on February 28th? Did the FBI comply with the demand to hand over the full Epstein file? If they didn't, why were there no consequences? And if they did, why is Pam Bondi now acting like no such files exist? This is all
Okay, yeah, that's crazy. Sorry, I have ADD. I'm just want to know exactly the order.
February 27th, 2025, proves that a smoking gun letter dated February 27th, 2025, proves that the Trump administration had and still has an Epstein list. Is it complete? We don't know. But we now know they're not telling the truth. Here's why you don't need to speculate or dig around. Thanks to a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request, we now have a public document, a letter from the Attorney General's office, signed by Pam Bondi and addressed to FBI Director Kash Patel. This letter is critical. Pam Bondi writes, "Before you took office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response, I received approximately 200 pages of documents consisting primarily of flight logs, Epstein's contact list, and a list of victim names and phone numbers. And that alone, flight logs, contacts, victim details clearly, qualifies as an Epstein list, yet officials have consistently claimed there is no list. That now appears to be pure semantics, technically saying there is no list while sitting on exactly the kind of material the public means when they use the term. But that's only part of the story. Bondi goes on to say she was repeatedly told those 200 pages were the full set of documents. Then she learned that the FBI's New York field office was holding back thousands more pages documents tied to...
I mean, how does she... How are they going to get around this? If this... Oh, I guess they're saying it's fake. All right, let's see. It's the Washington Post that published this. Say over fake letter. President Trump is vowing to sue, what is this? MSN? CNN? President Trump is vowing to sue the Wall Street Journal and owner Rupert Murdoch over the outlet's bombshell story detailing a 2003 birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein bearing Trump's name and a drawing of a naked woman. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam and that he shouldn't print this fake story. Okay, this is not the same. This is nothing compared to the last letter we were learning about. What about the letters? Is there no disavowing of the Pam Bondi letter? Pam Bondi letter to Patel. Can't hurt to Snopes it. True. Page has been blocked by Microsoft Edge. Oh, I thought that was the photo. I was like, what? There was a Fahrenheit 451 there for a second. Is there a way to like see this letter? Oh yeah. Well, dude, what? So this is. What are they gonna say? This is fake? Is anyone saying this is fake? Bro. Is this not the receipts? What are they saying? What is the counter to this? I can't type on this keyboard. Pam Bondi's February letter. Is this like brand new? I see Snopes says 7 hours ago, but I don't know if that was like updated 7 hours ago. Yeah, and this whole Trump says Bondi should release credible Epstein files that's him saying don't release any files. Anything you release, I want to say, is not credible. Therefore, release no files. A day ago, Emerson posted about it. So I really can't find a lot on this. Really just this article. See, this is 7 hours ago too. Okay, I don't know if this is like breaking news, but this is Pam Bondi sending an official letter. Okay, what the hell? With the Snopes on to catch Patel, who said the FBI would have these files before being the director of the FBI. Snopes compared the version of the letter shared on social media to the letter shared on the DOJ website and found that the text in both versions was identical. Okay, is this not a nail in the coffin? We have a letter saying there's files. Like that video said, what's the what happened when they were requested? Like either they were given and then, okay, why is she saying they don't exist? Or they weren't given and why can't the Attorney General have access to some letters from the FBI? That seems like there would be some kind of consequence to that. This is like a textbook cover-up. This has to be the deal breaker for MAGA. This has to, like, I mean, I think Trump doesn't care at this point. I don't think he really cares about a third term, other than maybe if he thinks he needs to save himself again. That's if he gets so desperate that he, like, something from this cover up happens, maybe something illegal. I mean, he has pretty much a blank check to do whatever he wants at this point. But if he feels like he needs to save himself, maybe that'll be the impetus to go for that third term. I think right now, he's just trying to get Ghislaine Maxwell out of jail. And probably cover for himself. But in the long run, he might need to try to keep himself in power to avoid consequences again, which is what he's done so far. And thank you to the people who made that possible. The files released in February 2025 didn't include any new revelations about the Epstein case since they had long been publicly available through court cases and media reports. The DOJ acknowledged this in its news release, saying the released Epstein files contained documents that were previously leaked but never released in a formal capacity by the federal government. They included an evidence list, flight logs, and redacted contact book, and a redacted masseuse list. Bondi received approximately 200 pages of documents in response to her request for all of the files related to Epstein, according to the release. However, she was later informed of thousands of pages. Who informed her? Of documents related to the investigation and indictment that were previously not disclosed. So that's like, who's that person? That somebody was the one who was like, hey, you know, you got like 1/10 of what exists. In her letter to Patel, Bondi addressed the alleged missing documents and asked the FBI to deliver the full and complete Epstein files to her office by 8 a.m. on February 28, 2025. Okay, so she meant business. Bondi also tasked Patel with investigating why the FBI did not follow her order requesting the full set of Epstein files. You will deliver to me a comprehensive report of your findings and proposed personnel action within 14 days. I mean, for them to do that tells me, for them to be confident enough to go against the Attorney General's order, tells me they had higher up approval to go against the Attorney General's order. Or else, I mean, because otherwise that means they just knew what was in there and knew they were protecting more powerful people and that those people would approve of them disobeying that order, and they felt safe because of that. But that feels like a little more like rolling the dice, but maybe not. Maybe they know what's in those files and they knew it was a safe bet that more powerful people would be pleased that they did not release all those files, and even more like try to throw them off the scent and gave them 200 pages, gave Pam Bondi 200 pages. The letter from Bondi to Patel never explicitly mentioned Epstein's client list, though it did say she received Epstein's list of contacts in response to her request for the Epstein files. In the first paragraph of her letter, Bondi wrote, Before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 2 pages of documents which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and the list of victims' names and phone numbers. Additionally, in her request for the FBI to deliver the full and complete Epstein files to her office, Bondi said such a delivery would include all records, documents, audio, and video recordings, and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, regardless of how such information was obtained. This is just the whole thing. I mean, I wish I'd just seen this first. This is crazy. This seems like breaking news, and like this is going to be the death knell in all of this. Because they said the text is identical. Yep. So I guess we're going to see how Trump will have some reaction to this. Is he going to call this fake? I mean, the birthday, he probably feels bad that he just lashed out and said he's going to sue about a birthday card. I didn't even see that story. It got overshadowed by this immediately. I just saw that he was going to sue someone, and I was like, okay, what else is new? But this seems like the biggest bomb so far to drop, like an official letter from the Attorney General to the FBI director about the releasing of files, saying she has files, saying she wants more files. There's hidden files. There's disobeying. There's insubordination, really. Oh, so what are they going to say? That's a fake letter? They can say it's a fake letter, or they can say, okay, the 200 pages is all there was. She was misinformed about the thousands of documents. That's probably their best angle. Because, again, that's kind of hinging on, like, she was informed there was thousands of more documents. And then she goes, okay, where's the other ones? But who informed her? What were they basing that information on? That's all stuff they can use to say, look, she was misinformed, and there are no thousands of documents. Crazy. So yeah, I'll cover the reaction. I'll wait and see what the reaction is from Trump. I'm sure we'll get some deranged nonsense. And we will cover that tomorrow. All right, guys. Peace out.